qualquer coisa que não tiver
Tá dando pra ouvir bem, assim, com a mágica? A gente tá com medo de tirar e tá iniciando ficar demais.
dá pra ouvir bem, não tem que algumas pessoas que não certificate.
Obrigada.
Qualquer
É que
coisa
tem
pode
muito aluno
chamar.
assistindo de casa, e aí a gente fica um pouco com medo.
Qualquer coisa pode sinalizar que eles não
Obrigada, Suzete.
Não pode escrever campeão.
Muito calor de Blaze?
Eu não sei se vai. Tem um grande a própria francesa. Eu acho que é. Como você faz. Super legal.
Acho esse vestido clássico, né?
Tá muito legal. Pode para Paris e
Ah, eu preciso voltar nele. Fiquei tão traumatizada. Eu divorciei logo depois.
Eu tenho que pular.
vou fazer as pazes com a cidade.
Eu preciso.
Ela é muito engraçada. Alguém está fazendo a minha frente já. Ficou todo mundo sem amigos.
Tenho as minhas fotos, eu tenho até vergonha de divulgar, mas tem uma cara boa, feliz. Preciso voltar lá para fazer as pazes com Paris.
Aqui, ó.
Você agora está com um potencial. Companheiro, eu tenho você está na minha vai decorar, você é morrer. O que eu puder ajudar, você conta comigo. É fundamental. Eu vou fazer o seguinte, eu vou falar. Por exemplo, hoje que a gente vai falar, se você pudesse ficar por quê? Não, porque não, a gente pediu para botar o fone alto, o som alto, porque as pessoas às vezes não começam. Eu deixo, a gente está todo mundo aqui, pergunta para a Tá. Obrigado. Então tá bom. Alô?
Desculpa, pediram para segurar só um minuto.
Segurar só um minuto, tá bom. Mas aí é o vídeo que não tá me vendo todo. Eu faço a outra. Eu tô aqui. Tô aqui, obrigado.
Are you okay?
5 minutes.
You're gonna be hard, but just hard, but just.
Fernanda, que legal. Que bom que vocês estão aqui.
Gisele, estarei aqui, ó. Tá? Ah, tá. Cronômetro.
Don't mess with
Tem um significado muito grande.
Eu vou te olhar, como é que você faz assim? Você fica bastante. Isso,
A gente pode também falar assim.
Ontem eu estava aqui na sala. E aí eu, no final da apresentação, falei que eu fui chorar quando a gente faz
Não, eu também não tenho problema de falar assim.
a game changer. Ele me adorou, ele me escreveu hoje de manhã, já estou conversando, vamos modelar, quando você quiser.
Professor, usually tells me to
Porque a falta também eu queria que fosse fazer esse internacional mesmo. Como é que o ambiente por quê? Mas aí ele já falou, como é que você vai falar isso com a
Do you have the phone?
how was the vision durante o segundo?
That was very impressive. I was amazed.
Yeah, they are very good.
I thought when I saw Institut of Art School, I thought it could be better, but actually it was quite impressive. Yeah.
They are great. They have a very good education.
And also they were easier, but I mean,
Our reality, all the schools like
okay, but anyway,
but it's a
since,
pilot.
yeah, and very easy to communicate with because they were, I mean, it was the English teacher, so it was excellent. And I did a small interview also on the BNI, and we tested the speaking ability. So it was very informative, and I was enlightened.
That's nice. Não, ele é do Science.
Eu conversei com o pessoal da Nova
No, he's from Saskia.
Yeah, yeah. Fernando.
Pode? Alguém conversa isso não hoje.
I don't think Anas is.
Tá. Bom dia. Agora bom dia mesmo. Eu estou particularmente feliz de começar esse dia com essa mesa glamurosa.
Buenos días. Estoy muy contenta de empezar en esta mesa rica, inspiradora, que significa el futuro. Son las semillas que son lanzadas hacia el futuro, que son los agricultores de estas semillas que están aquí en esta mesa. Y estoy muy feliz de estar acompañada. Tengo que registrar aquí Giselle y Alessandra, Ben, todas las escuelas que están aquí se van a presentar. No quiero dar spoiler porque los que van a presentar es esta señora aquí, la moderadora, que tiene mucha más competencia que yo. Solo quisiera registrar mi felicidad de empezar este día con ustedes. Quisiera agradecer a cada una de los que están aquí en esta mesa. Alessandra, prometo que no voy a estropear su presentación, solo voy a decir muchas gracias. Muchas gracias. Ustedes son una esperanza de que efectivamente la alimentación escolar sea un transformador. Y esto lo puedo decir, no es spoiler, es verdad. Ayer tuvimos el señor Zavala en el otro panel, en otro contexto de Latinoamérica. Y hice una provocación. ¿Qué le parece que si hacemos un evento Food School es a game changer? Y él adoró la idea, dijo que iba a hacerlo, entonces dijo, bueno, espera que los actores que van a montar esa propuesta estarán aquí mañana, así que ese desafío ya está lanzado para ustedes. Y le paso inmediatamente entonces la palabra a mi querida Alessandra, con quien siempre aprendo mucho y a quien tanto admiro. Muchas gracias, Alessandra. Hola, buenos días a todos y todas. Vía, eres una inspiración. Este proyecto ocurrió con la grandeza que viene ocurriendo por su causa. Entonces, muchas gracias desde ahora por todo el apoyo, soporte y siempre por sus lindas palabras. Bueno, aquí estamos para hablar un poco para ustedes de Celeia 21 Brasil, la experiencia en Brasil. Estamos aquí en la mesa, componiendo esta mesa de hoy. Tenemos el profesor Bent de la Universidad de Copenhague, Giseli Messiara, que es coordinadora del Celeia Brasil y que hace la interfaz entre Brasil y Dinamarca. Yo, profesora Alessandra Pereira, de la Escuela de Nutrición de Unirío, y la doctora Renata Nogueira, que es la nutricionista del Colegio Pedro II 2, Campus Tijuca 2, la profesora de Geografía Larissa Lima de Sousa, que también es del Colegio Pedro II 2, Campus Tijuca 2, doctora Fernando Portieri, directora del Instituto Verde Escola de São Paulo, la doctora Karine Ribeiro, coordinadora del programa CESC Brasil, y el profesor Joan Cadres del CEFET Maracaná, Río de Janeiro. Entonces, para empezar esta mesa, invito ahora al profesor Bent Enba de la Universidad de Copenhague para que nos hable un poco sobre Celeia.
Oi, bom dia, pessoal. Meu nome é Bent Ekberg Mikkelsen. Eu sou professor.
Hola, soy profesor de la ciudad de Copenhague, Dinamarca.
Portuguese lessons took me for this time. I'm sure I'm going to be much better next time. I would like to start by saying thank you. Muito obrigado, maravilhoso. I've been very pleased to be here for the past few days. I am, as you know, the principal investigator of the Celeia program. So I'm going to walk you through what is this Sense and Learn Celeia International Network program, what it is about. I would say that I've been seeing the two Danish schools working very, very hard. But I think it's fair to say that the two schools I've seen here and the partners from Brazil has been working even harder. It has been really a pleasure. And first of all, I would like to thank, of course, Bia and Alessandra and Giselle. There's a lot of other thanks I would extend a little later. But first of all, thanks for staging this, giving us this opportunity. Now, what is an international network program? International Network Program is financed by the Danish Research Ministry. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of salaries, but it gives us the opportunity to buy things, to go places, to do meetings, and that's what we're doing here. I think that's the whole essence of innovation and progress, that is about cooperation between nations and between countries. So, how would I... Next slide, please, if you don't mind.
I can help you.
You're gonna help me out. Thanks a lot. Okay, I think the thing is that International Network Program is between Denmark, Brazil, and China. So just for information, we have a Chinese arm. So we have the opportunity. We are about halfway in the Celeia program, so we have about 1 year to close down. We hope we're going to be here at Green Rio in 2022. This is our Chinese partners. and we have the Beijing Normal University. That's the educational university. I'm going to come back to the education part. And we have the support of the Innovation Center in Shanghai and the Royal Danish Embassy in Beijing. Next slide, please. We are hoping to take the best from Brazil and then go to China. So the purpose of the network is to create a lasting cooperation that can untap the scientific and innovative potentials in the intersection between IT, food and learning for young people at school. Just a word about Bia, you introduced the idea of food at school as a game changer. I would like to say, well, food at school is both about providing. It's both for your stomach, but it is also for your mind. So what we try to do here, and if you can advance the slide, just, yeah, exactly, thanks. Idea working with young people at school to promote and learn about SDGs and food using digital and technology insight. Now, being in the birthplace, the cradle of where Paulo Freire, the famous Brazilian philosopher and pedagogue, he wrote about empowerment. Now, what I'm trying to say is that one thing is to provide healthy food for your stomach, but empowerment, that's the idea of Paulo Freire. Empowerment is about providing the tools, the frameworks, the capacities for people in the future to change the future, right? To provide a better food systems future. So I think that's the whole essence of what we are trying to achieve. We are not only focusing on providing healthy meals, we are focusing on the mindsets. We are trying to educate children, give them an understanding of food systems and how food systems can be sustainable in the future. And for that to happen, we need things like creativity, teamwork spirit, group work abilities, and also understanding digital technologies. I see a lot of business plans, business opportunities that is fully digital. So without understanding artificial intelligence, robotics, how to grow vertical farming with sensors and microcomputers, without all these kind of things that we have seen both in Collegio Pedro II and in Instituto Verde Scuola. Thanks for that. Without that understanding, we are not going to be able to empower the students of tomorrow. Okay, let me come to an end. We have two cases because so far we've been speaking about China and Brazil. Now, a case A is a smart barcode and an app. And if you press the next button, I think we're going to get some more. Okay, as you can see, this is what we've been working with at a Danish school. So we have the kids there. And basically what they have developed is an app that knows about what is the expiry date of the food. So if you see the barcode is a new invention that contains the batch number of that particular food. So it knows the expiry date. So it's an intelligent barcode. Now think about the potentials. You can check in your food in the fridge. You can check them out once you want to throw them. You can stand in the supermarket and knows that I've got 2 liters of milk still, so I don't have to buy anything. Okay, so that they have been doing, developing a small microcomputer, and I know my time is coming to an end. So I'm happy to skip to my last slide, which is the case 2. It's also a fridge. As you probably know, if you can go back one slide, I'm just going to show the idea of a fridge is that there's an uneven temperature in the fridge. You know, it's warm here and it's cold here. Now, what these kids did is that they fitted this fridge with sensors. So knowing about the temperature in the different places of the fridge, knowing about the requirements of different foods. You probably know that minced meat is very fragile, whereas fermented foods, they are not very fragile when it comes to temperature. So measuring the temperatures and inviting in an expert on artificial intelligence and sensors, they were able to do a small program that could optimize the placement of the food in the fridge. Now, I hope that these two cases are examples of how kids can learn and be creative, innovative, using digital technologies, and bringing in the right mentors. So, thanks a lot for your attention. I hope that we're going to be successful in the continued cooperation in the Celea project. Thanks a lot. Muito obrigado.
Thank you, dear Ben.
All right, thank you, dear Ben. So, like Paulo Freire said, to educate is to build opportunities for our own construction. That's the essence of Celea. So to talk a bit more about this essence and to talk about the project itself, I would like to invite Professor Gisele Messiara, that is going to talk about management and coordination of the project and the interconnection with Brazil and Denmark. So just to let you know that we are having a translation, simultaneous translation. So if you want to pick up your headphone, you can have English translation. Can you hear me? Is the translation working? Good morning, everyone. It's a huge satisfaction to be here today. Thank you, Bia, and all the organizers, and of all the organizers of Green Rio. So to be here in this place, surrounded by all this green space, really brings us the even deeper intention of fighting for climate change, for sustainability, and for healthy eating and sustainable food. And that is the focus of this project. So as a cultural interface, you saw that in the Danish schools, they had a lot of focus on IT within the school. So as we brought this project to Brazil, we need to do that with the help of collaborators. So I'm going to be showing who are these collaborators that were important parts for our project. So a brief introduction. I'm going to be talking about the background of this project. Professor Alessandra is going to be talking about research, the results, and dissemination. And then afterwards, we will have a panel with Q&A about what happened with the project and with the main stakeholders that are the schools and the partners. And we will have a brief, we will award certifications, participation certificates, and I would like to invite you to go visit our stand. We're at stand number 1. If you want to see the final results of our robotic projects, please go and visit our stand, the Celea stand, stand number 1. Can you hear me okay, sir? No? All right. So the Celea means sense and learning, and it comes from feeling and learning, because we only learn when all our senses are present. So all the stages and the activities that we have done in the Celea project were focused on this feeling or sensing and learning, focused on healthy eating, healthy food, sustainable food, technical innovation, avoiding waste, food waste, and climate change. So Celea happened throughout 2021 from January to December, and today it's ending. But it's only the pilot is ending today. So this project is a project for adjustments. We weren't perfect in this project, but we have the intention of continuing this project, and we need to have more partnerships and collaboration. So the target audience of this project were 182 Brazilian students from 10 to 16 years old from the 6th and 8th grade, because we wanted to measure the knowledge in the beginning, in the 6th grade, and then compare it to the 8th grade to see if they learned the information throughout this period of time. So the schools that participated, the institutions that participated, were the Verde Escola Institute, which is in São Sebastião in São Paulo, and the Pedro II Campus Tijuca II school in Rio de Janeiro. So the collaborators, the project only happened due to the support of these people that you're seeing here today. We have the Copenhagen University, UniRio, NEDA, Cefet, Rio de Janeiro, Campus Maracanã, Sesc Mesa Brazil, Green Rio, and SESI São Paulo. So we also have the collaboration of the Danish embassy in Brazil, that is represented here by Tina Nottinglip, and FAO Brazil by Mr. Rafael Savala, who we got to meet yesterday, the Denmark Cultural Institute, Mr. Anders, and Lego Viva Inteligencia Educacional, Marcelo and Marjorie, that are here today. So, Celea Brazil happened during the pandemic peak. So the result of the work that you're going to see in stand number 1 was through the pandemic crisis that we all know the difficulty that we had in Brazil. Many activities happened online, but always present with interprofessionalism that counts with the exchange of knowledge. So it was always focused on learning one from another. To have collaboration, empathy, creativity was present throughout all the phases of the project. So everyone got involved, and so that this meeting could be happening here today. So of course that any sustainable project has to be linked to the Sustainable Development Goals from the UN. So we can't do any projects these days, whether it's focused or not on sustainability, without focusing on the SDGs. So what were the Celea goals? So we focused on goal number 3, health and well-being, 12.3, which is mitigation of food waste, 13, action against climate change, and 17, partnerships and means to implement these goals. So how we work the SDGs in Celea Brazil. So in SDG number 3, we focus on healthy and sustainable food. So today, Brazil is the 5th place with the greatest amount of diabetic people. So that's why here we have the prevention of chronic diseases when we educate about the food guide for the Brazilian population. So through education in high school, we want to avoid chronic diseases such as diabetes type 2, cardiovascular diseases, cancer for Brazilian youth or throughout their lives. So young people are developing diabetes, type 2 diabetes at a very young age. And this is something that Celea wants to help to fight. So regarding the SDGs 12.3 and 13, this pilot has the goal of increasing awareness and knowledge regarding planetary health, focusing on fighting food waste in the climate change causes, remembering that human health and planetary health are a single thing. They're connected. So regarding SDG 17, which is the collaboration to reach these goals, I have participated of several talks, and in all of these presentations I heard the word collaboration. So here in Celea we worked with collaboration. So this whole project was focused on collaboration, both between us as well as individually in the schools and in the partner institutions. So here we have my work in the Celea project, because since I graduated in Denmark and I lived there for 17 years now, I work in promoting health and sustainability. We work there a lot with frameworks. So this provides the structure for this project. So this here, I won't get into the details here because we don't have much time, but if you want to know more, you can talk to me. So one is LFA, which is the Logic Framework Approach, which provided the general framework of this project. And then we use tools, additional tools, such as intercultural communication between Denmark and Brazil, which was present in all the phases of the Celea projects, collaboration, cross-professional collaboration, and interprofessional collaboration, where all the collaborators have a clear vision of their goals, and also it was a constant exchange of knowledge between different sectors and professionals. So another item, another model that we use, this was more used to do research, identification research regarding the needs, was the health belief model, which is much used in the promotion of health and sustainability, where the model says that the greatest the chance of changing our behavior when we perceive effectively the risk that we are taking. So we know of the risks that we take with climate change. And of course, as was mentioned before, Paulo Freire works a lot on constructivism, and counter-constructivism. So activities based on the results of the previous activity. So the Celea project was totally built on top of the collaboration of the previous institution. So that's what I had to say. Thank you very much. I will give the floor now to whom? Alessandra. Well, before I continue, I'm going to give the floor to Bia. She has something to tell us, which is very important. Thank you, Alessandra. I just wanted to say that Teresa Corsão is here in our audience. She is someone that I really admire, and she has invented this concept of eco chefs, so the tapioca workshops in the schools. And before that, before going to the mainstream, Teresa was really a pioneer. So I'm very proud of learning with her. So I would like to give her an applause, please. Get up, Teresa, so everyone knows who you are. It's this lady over here. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you. Thank you, Bia. So it's nice to see you, Teresa, once again. We are working together. So now let's talk a little bit about research. So Celea research. So in the academy, I am the Alessandra teacher. I'm from the Uni Rio. And within the academic sector in the university, we have three pillars. So teaching, research, and extension. So Celea is a project that unites these three pillars. So we are working on the extension aspect and working directly with society. We have the part of teaching, since we're working and exchanging knowledge, and we have the part of research as well, because to record and monitor is important to provide feedback for future action. So our project, it has this research axis as well, so we can identify the needs and that we can intervene and work in changes starting in local observations. So these 4 dimensions are the 4 dimensions that provide information for our research within Celea. So one is to work on waste and loss of food, to understand how that works, why does that work, so how we can change things. And it's one of the projects that we're working on, both in the Verde Escola Institute as well as in Dom Pedro II. Another important dimension, and I think it's something that stands out in Celea, which is technological education. So within the project, we developed 2 prototypes of 2 products, one in Verde Escola, one in Cebe 2, with the support of Cefet. So we united robotics for education, and education within the environment of nutrition, sustainability, and food. And that's an innovation in terms of project in loco within the schools and on-site, right, and uniting all these organizations. Another axis that we also want to work on in research, and that we have been working on, is the relationship between sustainability, food and nutrition, and food systems with climate change. So for many, this is still not that clear, especially when we think about the young people. So they know what is the food system, they know what is sustainability, they know the impact on the environment, but they're still not so closely related to the climate issues. And obviously, the other major axis is food and nutrition, based on the new food guide for the Brazilian population that brings a new classification. So to know, acknowledge how that happens, how that relationship between the students of the middle school and elementary school, this was with this food guide was very important to us, because our research base is the dissemination based on this guide. So we created a questionnaire like Gisele showed and talked about before, and we then identified some issues. Not numeric, but I'm going to bring this in a bit of a more qualitative manner. So some of the issues that we saw was a lack of knowledge regarding the food guide from the Brazilian population in the school environment. So we disseminate a lot within food and nutrition, within the nutrition area. We talk a lot about this. This has been disseminated, but we need to bring more of this food guide to the Brazilian population. So the students have an idea of what is processed, ultra-processed, but we have observed, and I believe we have noticed how much we need to broaden that knowledge. and then for the whole, and that's for the whole community. So another issue that was raised was also the need for a greater awareness regarding the reduction of loss and food waste. This is something that is very dear to us, especially in the moment that we live in, regarding food, lack of food safety, nutritional safety in Brazil and in the world. And we know that the consumer is one of the major axis where we have a great prevalence of waste of food. So to bring awareness is very important. Another aspect that is also relevant in our research was to understand that we also need to increase, we need to bring awareness and increase the knowledge about recycling. So, and one of the projects which is very interesting, this smart garbage can, because sometimes we acknowledge we have the devices, but we're still not sure about where to throw away what garbage or rubbish is recyclable. So we observe this need as well. Another thing, another aspect that we raised is the need to talk about climate change, especially in its causes and interrelation with food, nutrition, and food systems. So a difficulty that we have in Brazil, and that's nothing new, we are drinking from the Danish fountain, which is the use of technology for innovation and transformation. But in Brazil, we have few of these resources, so we know that we need to improve. But this partnership, established partnership, has shown that this is possible. So we had the SES, the CEFET, Legua supporting us. And then after the panel is over, I will invite everyone to get to know both prototypes and projects that are in stand 1 for us to see live what was built collectively and in a brilliant manner by the professors, teachers, and students from the institutions. And this phase, like Gisele mentioned, all our research is based on constructivism. So we didn't just go there to do a diagnosis. We did a diagnosis together. We didn't go there and implement an action. We implemented this action together. So this idea comes from the site to us, different than other research that comes from top down. So we understand in this constructivism the real potential for change. Another point in this constructivistic step, we worked with recommendations for health. We created and co-created technological products, sustainable products. Sustainable not only in the sense of the meaning of the word, but also that they can be replicated, that they can be passed on to other classes, to other students, to other units. And interprofessional collaboration. Also bringing this whole multi-professional character, multidisciplinary character, constructivistic within the education that we believe in. So a little bit of the dissemination of Celea Brazil, so what we have already published so far and what we're doing. So Green Rio for so the invitation from Bia, which is amazing. It's really precious that we're here together in this table. It brings me great joy and honor, and it's really, I'm really proud of being here this morning. So we have a chapter here of the PENAI experience in the Federal Network of Professional Education, Science and Technology. This is a chapter in the e-book. And we also had a summary that was presented in the APS Congress that presented this experience of access to, which is consumption of fruits and vegetables, promotion and protection of healthy food environments. We also had the signing of the São Paulo Declaration for Planetary Health, which was an initiative between the São Paulo University and Harvard. We will have an event on the 1st where we will present each one of the schools will present the project, the development, and all the partners will be present. This will happen remotely on the 1st from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. We will have 2 panels. with the participation of FAO Brazil, Rafael Savala. So we invite everyone, and this will be transmitted on YouTube uh, by the nutrition school from Rio. So afterwards, I can show you the link. So we're writing a paper as well, a scientific paper to bring a little bit of our actions, and we are working tirelessly to broaden the Salea Brazil project for the year of 2022. All right, so for now, that's all I had to say. And it's amazing. We were able to uh, work on this project in the pandemic year, which was a very difficult year. So, but to see it become a reality is really something that is amazing and really rich. Um, so now we're going to open for debate. We have all our partners. We have Dom Pedro II, SESI, CEFET, SESC, and CEFET. So we're going to open now for an open discussion round. So the first question then, I'm going to ask the question. I'm going to ask the Don Pedro II school. So after the presentation of the results, so we did the mapping, we presented the results, and so answered by the students. So what activities do you in CP2 did you develop based on the Salea recommendation that impacted directly the SDG 3 related to health, well-being, and SDG 13 climate change regarding the UN goals? So can you please explain more or less how was the coordination of these activities? Good morning, everyone. So I'm going to answer. My name is Alessandra. I'm going to answer Alessandra and Bernata. I'm a nutritionist from the Dom Pedro II School. I'm also work in Unirio, and it's an honor to be here. I would like to highlight that the Dom Pedro II is a federal school located in Rio de Janeiro. It has more than 14,000 students, and it's a public school, and the Tijuca 2 campus is in Tijuca. So we have thousands of students in our campus and 3 different shifts. So this project happened during a period where we had remote or online classes during the pandemic period. So that's why we were having online classes. And this brought some sort of limitation to developing this project, but it didn't discourage us to conclude this project. So in the first step of this project, we developed a workshop where we addressed theoretical issues regarding the food guide for the Brazilian population from the result of the research that demanded that need of working that with our students. It was an extracurricular activity. It was offered on Saturdays, and we had a very significant participation of our students in a remote manner. So in this workshop, we developed with the partnership of the geography department. My colleague Maricia Lima is going to talk a bit more about this, and Thiago Favroso also participated with us in this event. So on that day, we addressed the food guide for the Brazilian population, and also in this workshop, other matters came up from the demand of the students themselves. So we addressed issues like the distribution of agricultural land, the work conditions of the people that produce our food, the spatial inequality in the offer of foods that are considered to be healthy, and also the issue of natural consumption, especially water consumption, which is what motivated our prototype, what Larissa is going to present, and also the generation of solid waste that comes from production and consumption of this food. So from that, we had this workshop with our students, and then they had a moment with SESC, the Brazil panel that Karine is here and is going to talk a bit to you about this. And we also had 2 robotic workshops, one with Professor João Cadros, that is here also in this panel, and also with the Lego education team that sponsored our material, the material that was needed for the construction of our robot, which Professor Larissa will explain in the next presentation. We had at the end 3 students that participated in the school in person. They were responsible for all the construction and the programming of that robot, and this brought us a lot of pride. So I'd like to say that due to the fact that we're a public school, we have a national food plan, the PNAE. So this program and this partnership is very important within the context, the social and political context of our country. Thank you very much. All right, so the next question, I'm going to ask the next question, then we'll give the floor to Gisele, who will go on to the next. So for the Verde Escola Institute, Fernanda, after you presented the results with research, I would like you to give us a brief report. So how you built this, how this impacted the SDGs 3 and 13. Hello, good morning. I guess it works now. So it's a pleasure to be here. Is it a little low? Can you hear me? All right, so just to bring a bit of context, the Verde Escola Institute is an NGO in the coast of Sao Paulo. It's been open for more than 14 years. It takes care of more than 1,000 students in these topics of education and the environment. I think Renata gave us a great overview about how this partnership worked, what was the theoretical aspect. So from our side, I think that after this presentation from the food guide, we really we focused on the practical aspects. So to try to bring to the students the experience, the learning experience in an interdisciplinary manner and with hands-on, right? So for that, we worked in three different ways. First, we created a food game to bring foods from the day to day and the students to be able to classify them. And then we brought the students to we have actually a garden within our school. And then we brought the students to our school so they can do recipes with fruit and vegetable peels and also with local foods. So, so I think the great issue that we raised to our students was, well, the waste that they noticed in that process was that the incorrect throwing away of this garbage has an impact on the gas emissions to the environment. So this has, speaking of the SDGs, this has an impact in SDGs 14 and 15, for instance. And in this sense, was it that the students thought about this solution that we're going to explain in the second answer, which was this intelligent or smart garbage can. So we could use the organic residue to use it in our garden, and then we could have a sustainable cycle of food consumption. Well, I'm going to go on to Gisele now, who is going to go on to the next questions. All right, so now the topic is food guide for the Brazilian population, focusing on healthy and sustainable food and mitigation of food waste in homes and in schools. So, SESC Mesa Brazil. So, after presenting the results of the research answered by the students, what activities did you develop to increase student knowledge about the sustainable and healthy food based on the food guide for the Brazilian population, how to reduce food waste? Karine, could you answer, please? Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be participating of this panel. Gisele, Alessandra, Renato, Bia. So, SESC, the Mesa Brazil SESC, is a food security program that fights hunger and waste. And one of the main roles from SESC is to bring educational actions or activities to its whole audience. So to develop these two workshops was to bring knowledge regarding food waste and how to make use of that material, focusing on our proposal, which is to stimulate healthy and sustainable consumption of in natura foods. So we focused more on the food guide for the Brazilian population, focusing on all the different matters regarding sustainable food. So we had two workshops for all the students. We brought a little bit of creativity regarding how to make better use of food. That was only it wasn't only the theoretical aspect, but also the hands-on aspect. And we weren't able to taste it, so that we missed a bit on that. But I think we brought maybe that the vegetables that they thought they could only eat at dinner or a lunch, maybe it can become a juice or a dessert. So we developed a juice made out of cabbage and passion fruit. So we basically tried to break the food taboo that some foods cannot be consumed. And so this whole educational aspect that says always brings in its educational activities. Thank you. All right, thank you, Karini. So that workshop was amazing, and all that participation as well. Gisele, next. All right, so they told me that our time is running out, so I'm going to ask for the next people to try to be quite brief in their answers. And now a question to Pedro Segundo. Do we have time? Well, it's good that we have Bia here in our panel, so we got some extra time. All right. So the topic is technology, robotics, and sustainability. So for the Pedro Segundo School. So can you tell us details about what technological product that you create based on the Celea Brazil activities? Whom were the collaborators, and what is the purpose of the product, and what SDGs will be impacted by this technological product? Hello. Good morning, everyone. So, Gisele, thank you for your question. It's great to be here with you. So, my name is Larissa. I am a geography teacher from the Colégio Dom Pedro II. I teach in the Tijuca 2 campus, and from the workshops and the previous workshops, we decided to program a robot. It's actually a model that was proposed by Lego, which was one of the collaborators through Marcelo from Lego for Education. And our robot is called Amor Vegano, or Vegan Love. It uses meteorological data, georeferenced data. So from the city of Rio de Janeiro, analyzing weekly the rain rate that is forecasted. So it notices or monitors to see if we need to irrigate a certain species. So, for example, we chose a tomato plant. So the idea is to broaden this programming for other species and avoiding any food waste through we don't want to over irrigate our plants, but we also want to avoid wasting water through robotics. Another collaborators was Ron Cadros from Cefet, who taught us a lot about robotics. Thank you, João. And this robot, through these two goals, was has related directly with SDGs 3 and 13 and 12.3 and some other goals as well. Thank you, Gisele. I thank you. So just to remind you that we have a YouTube video, right, Larissa, with a presentation of the robot. So, so while well, just to remind you that our robot and the video of the students explaining they couldn't be present today, but we have a video that is available on YouTube. And if you want, you can later on go to stand 1 and you can watch it. Thank you. I invite everyone to go to stand 1. Don't leave this fair without going to stand 1, please. Thank you very much. All right, so now Fernanda, can you now tell us a bit about the Verdi Scola Institute, a bit more in details? So how did the project work? What was the product that was developed? Yes, of course. So from the point in time that the students understood that this incorrect disposal was bad for the environment, and since we have in Verdi School, we have a worm garden, we have a compost process, how can we eliminate this initiative points for the environment and this to use our compost for our garden? So did we develop this smart garbage trash bin that was developed by our students? So we have 3 different garbage cans. We have organic, recycled, and common or normal. So, and I think it's important to mention here that Reina has a partnership with SESI, and we developed with the students so a hardware that has a camera to identify uh, the food or, for instance, a plastic bottle, and there, and then we, through a software, thinking about machine learning, we collected several pictures. So, for example, for organic foods, for this robot to be able to identify, in fact, if that food is organic or normal, they had to uh, they had to capture 200, 300 pictures. So this process was not simple. So it wasn't only just to, just to work on the robots that was donated by Lego. So, and in this, and the trash can is over there. So I invite you to go look in our stand, and our videos also are available there, so you can see how the process with the students worked. And obviously, we have the role of Jonathan, who was our environmental education, the beginning of the process, Rena in the middle, and then we have the chain. We talk about the right chain of disposal with Jonathan's work. Thank you very much, Fernanda. Excellent work. Gisele? All right, so the question now for Safet is what activities from the Celea Brazil project developed by the other collaborators of the project throughout the year of 2021, which one influenced the idea to co-create and develop the Contenta robot or the content robot? Can you explain how this idea came up? So what is this robot about, and how will this impact directly SDG 12.3, which is food waste? Professor João, please. All right, so good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be here in Celea 21 in this panel. Safet RJ is also a federal school in Brazil. It works in middle school. It has also graduation courses, pause graduation courses. So it's quite a different model in Brazil. Our project started with other collaborators of the Dom Pedro II School through workshops talking about robotics and programming. So within these workshops, we got to know the excellent work from the Unirio team with this questionnaire about what is the perception of students regarding sustainable food regarding this matter. And with this joint vision, we integrated ourselves within this universe of Verde Escola and Pedro II to build projects that could collaborate with this sustainability area, especially in item 12.3, which is the part of food waste, to fight against food waste from the point of view of the consumer, of ordinary people. So using our technology to build an environment that could integrate to the Verde Escola projects and Dom Pedro II as well. So then we came up with the smart container, which is called Contenta. And it starts with the initial phase where people identify the food and the footprint. They place a banana or an apple and they identify. This is useful for young people to see how much water are we wasting, how much a specific food emits regarding carbon emissions. So then it has a very simple device with a cheap microprocessor, which is attached to several sensors regarding gas emissions to identify the consumption condition of the food. So if it can be consumed, up to when, or if has to be disposed of. And that's where we have the integration with Don Pedro II and Verde Escola schools, where these areas will deal both with the hydrology of the food and also smart disposal or awareness regarding this matter. So this gas emission aspect is quite a pioneer effort. There's not a lot of scientific work about this, and we work with artificial intelligence as well, and trying to identify for each type of food what type of gases it emits during the deterioration process or decomposition process, and this is very important for the ordinary consumer. So we have great devices for the big manufacturers, but ordinary people don't have access to this. So our goal was to build a low-cost device that had rapid access and that could give us this answer within this perspective to avoid food waste. So thank you very much, Saleya 21, for giving us this opportunity. So we thank you, Professor João. Well, we're getting to the end of our presentation. So here are our contact details. You can talk to Gisele. We can talk with the nutrition school. You can talk with Ben from the Copenhagen school, BIA. So all the institutions that are part of CELIA as well. So we will not open to questions. Well, we weren't going to open to Q&A, but Teresa asked to have a question. So we're going to ask you to be very brief because we're running out of time. All right. So thank you very much for the opportunity. Well, first I wanted to congratulate for the amazing show. I think your project is a radical change. And this is going to be very important for all the SDGs and for the countries as a whole. What I felt that was missing, and I'm going to maybe make some advertisement here, which is the cultural aspect. So us from the Maniva Institute, we have a tapioca project, and I'm going to go to the stand afterwards to talk to you about this, what deals with the cultural aspect. So children from 7 to 12 learn throughout 10 years to make tapioca, which is our identity product. And I think colonized countries have a different, aspect regarding food. So I think this identity, pre-colonization identity, has to be emphasized because it's also related to biodiversity and the social biodiversity in the local environment. So we work on that. We're working in several networks and matters. So I think I could help you. So I'm available. Thank you. So I wanted to thank you. It was amazing, your presentation. But I think that what's extremely important, I am a dentist, and SDG 3 is something that we need to emphasize, which is mouth health. So we would need to have a public network for food health. We have billions of cavities in our children, and dental disease is the 6th most prevalent disease in the world. So we have a huge amount of cavities, especially in China and Brazil, and so this is a great problem, and so it's a public health issue. Besides that, you could establish a link regarding sugar consumption, because you talked about processed foods, but I think that you are an expert group on this matter, so I think we need to have an interface, and we need to encourage, foster, and show children and adults and talk about sugar, how much sugar we have in our foods. So this is something that we need to emphasize as well. Thank you very much. All right, thank you very much. So I think these are two contributions that are quite important and pertinent, and it also opens our perspective, which is one of the goals of this panel, to listen to other stakeholders and broaden this for 2022, which I said is a goal. So Teresa, we already talked about you a lot this morning, and thank you, Laura. Liana, thank you for your contribution as well. And I think we can get in touch, but I agree with you regarding how important it is to talk about, mouth health. So we are going to go to the closing panel, but before that, we're going to deliver the certificates here in person in the sense of thanking, and we want to value everyone's participation in the Celeia Brazil project. So for the SESC Mesa Brazil, I would like to invite Bia to deliver the certificates, and I would like to invite here to receive Paulo Cândido Damasceno. Paulo is here. So Karine. Carla Coratini. And Maria Aparecida Pessoa.
Instituto Verde Escola.
Verde Escola Institute. Gisele is going to deliver the certificate, so I call on Cleverson Antonio Gomes, Jonatas John da Silva Francisco, Renan Daniel Domingos, and Maria Fernando Portieri. For the Pedro II School, I invite Bia once more to deliver the certificate, and I invite Marisa Lima de Souza, and Renata de Souza Nogueira. For Cefet, I invite Professor Bent to deliver the certificates and Rafael Mello to receive. And Professor João Roberto from the Toledo Quadros. Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to Professor Bent. You have the floor.
So, well, it's a great pleasure for me to hand over this small token of appreciation for the hard work you did over here. So I would like to see Alessandra Pereira from Unirio here for the first certificate. Thanks so much. Thanks. Thanks. Oh, sorry about that. You're gonna have two, yeah, for the university and for Alessandra. And I think we need a picture.
Mas fica aí também.
But I have to stay here for another picture.
Okay, and then a very important person is of course Bia. Bia, may I see you here on the stage and hand over for the Green Rio and for you. As I said, a small token of appreciation. Thanks a lot, Bia.
Thank you.
Muito obrigado. Here you go. And
Thank you so much.
you're welcome. And it's always difficult when you thank people that could you make a difference. I know you guys have been working so hard. I would take the opportunity to make a slight difference here because one person needs a special thanks, and you're going to go by the end. This is Giselle. Vereas, Messiadas, may I see you here on the stage and thank so much for your hard work.
Yeah, I got it.
I can disclose the fact that we're gonna invite Giselle for recovering a few days of recovery at the Copacabana.
Yes.
And I think also we have an extra present. Sana, are you gonna hand over a special extra gift? It's gonna come here. So, Giselle, you have been so wonderful in all the. So, give a big round of applause extra for Giselle. That has been a pleasure working with you.
And it's Copenhagen.
It is Copenhagen, yeah. Okay, so I think time is up. I would like to hand over the mic to you.
Thank you very much. Você quer encerrar, querido?
Pode encerrar.
Não quer acrescentar mais nada?
All right, so we will close this emotional panel. Thank you very much to all the schools and all those that participated. Alessandra, Gisele, Bent, thank you very much for coordinating this with so much competence. And once again, I would like to invite you to get to know stand number 1 to see exactly what was done there. And I want to take advantage of inviting those that are in the panel. If they want to follow the next panel, I recommend it because we will have a continuation, so to speak, of what we talked about here today, because Mesa Brasil, Mesa no Campo, so we're going to talk about this in a global manner. So what this mesa, this table, right, this is a dream that we have, how we bring all this expertise. Because, and I can say this freely, I think Mesa should be a global program. And I would, so we invited a speaker from OCDE that works with rural work. And we also are going to talk about the urban aspect. And within the global aspect, we also have the national aspect. So the next panel will have Mesa Brazil. We'll have a national perspective and also a global perspective from the OCDE. So I recommend that you continue here, but I guess you will have to sit down in the audience, and this will reflect on what we talked about within the project regarding a game changer project and so on. So thank you very much. So with this we close this panel, but the spirit will continue on. So thank you very much, and it's a pleasure, it's an honor. So a standing ovation to all of you because you deserve it. All of you.
Você entender? Eu queria, inclusive, já convidar o Bruno.
So I wanted to invite Bruno Nunes. I would like to be an agent, Bruno's agent, because he does so many things so well. I would like to invite Cida Pessoa, with whom I learned so much about Mesa. Where is Cida? It's an honor. And José Enrique, who is going to join us remotely from the OECD. So now all of you that left, please come back, because we're going to have a very important event. So let's gather everyone. Let's make sure everyone comes back. Bruno.
coordenador do Ministério da Ciência e Tecnologia. Ficou aqui para participar desse. Explica para o Fernando o que você está mexendo para fazer, porque é a cara do SESC. É um projeto que está fazendo um movimento que é muito SESC, pensa em prática.
Você é parente da Flávia Proidócio?
Não.
Ah, tá. Lembra? Você trabalhou com a Flávia Proidócio?
Não deve ser muito longe não, porque só vem 3 anos da família Proidócio no Brasil. Então, 25 no Rio, outros por São Paulo, outros por Rio Grande do Sul.
Legal. Deve ser, com certeza.
Chegou depois do Sul, você também se empresa.
Deixa ele ligado na tua mão.
Deixa eu dar a volta aqui.
Não, parar. Não, mas eu vou.
na verdade, passou do sistema alimentar, mas passou para todos os programas de economia, até da UNED, ou seja, tem que garantir segurança hídrica, energética e alimentar, de forma integral. Entendeu? Eu não posso desenvolver o biocombustível com todos os entradas de segurança alimentar ou hídrica, por exemplo, apesar da energética. Então nós temos esse olhar, a gente está com a ideia de transformar isso em programa, porém a gente viu que dá para colocar mais passos nele além do que um programa só nisso. Então muito possivelmente a gente vai ter um sistema, um programa de sistemas integrados de produção, a gente pega desde a IPF, pega todos os outros sistemas agroflorestais e dá um olhar em cima do nexus deles também. Para além disso, a gente trabalha com um programa, na verdade uma plataforma que nós estamos desenvolvendo, que vai agregar todo o conhecimento brasileiro, né, que tem essa pretensão, em segurança alimentar e nutricional. Então todos os grupos de pesquisas que existem já cadastrados, a gente tem um cadastro muito grande por causa da nutrição, que era uma antiga plataforma que a gente descontinuou. Então a gente descontinuou, estamos descontinuando, na verdade, ela está parando aos poucos, exatamente para poder o recurso que a gente usa na nutrição usar para a Plagesan, que é essa plataforma. E lá a gente vai ter todo o repositório, mapeamento inclusive mapeamento georreferenciado dos projetos, onde estão para poder verificar, esse projeto já está conversando com esse, e vamos ter fóruns para as comunidades, ou seja, cada grupo de pesquisa pode ter uma comunidade ali para fazer seus debates, suas apresentações, suas agendas. E eu acredito que mesmo possa estar lá, entendeu? Deveria estar junto conosco lá já quando a gente lançar isso. Então isso está sendo previsto para o ano que vem, só que assim, sendo bem franco, estávamos previstos para o final desse ano. Corte orçamentário para o ano que vem. E a gente está lutando com todas as forças para que a gente consiga entregar ainda no primeiro semestre. Por conta exatamente dos cortes orçamentários. Nós temos um quadro de queda vertiginosa disso. Em 2016, quando a programação foi criada, nós tínhamos 4 milhões de reais. Hoje eu tenho 1,5. Então, é um tema assim, isso é geral, não é comigo, né? É todas as programações do Ministério nesse momento.
Conversar sobre então, parceria para comércio esta semana, Ministério dos Potenciais Projetos andar.
Assim, aí também um outro programa que nós temos, que é um foco que eu vou dar aqui, é um programa de apoio a cadeias produtivas, onde a gente identifica um gargalo naquela cadeia produtiva, algum problema que precisa ser resolvido, a gente vai, ou a gente prospecta a melhor universidade, melhor centro de pesquisa para trabalhar.
Eu tiro Maria Beatriz da frente da Fernanda, vão pensar que ele é Maria Beatriz.
No caso, por exemplo, do açaí, a gente vai ter aqui de pesquisa, por volta de
Tá bom, pode? O que você quer? Pode começar?
Podemos começar, tá tudo certo.
Boa tarde, já é boa tarde, vamos começar.
All right, so let's begin. It's 11:30, so it's still good morning. So good morning. So, good morning. We're a little bit 7 minutes late, but everyone is here. So in this panel, as I said before, a regional proposal, national and international idea. So I would like to open, and I'll give the floor to Cida Pessoa, who is the person that coordinates and leads Mesa Brazil, that I believe is a program that deserves to be in the UN one day, and I hope to be there someday to be working at the panel. We will have here Enrique from OECD, and I would like to both Bruno and Jose Henrique that you understand a little bit better what is Mesa, so that they can see how Mesa projects nationally and globally. Cida, go ahead. Hello. So good morning, everyone. Good morning, Bruno. Good morning, Bia. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here showing our work, Mesa Brasil. I am the coordinator of Mesa Brasil in Rio de Janeiro. You can go on to the next, please. So we are a network, a solidarity network, and of people that fight hunger and food waste within our country. Can we go on to the next one, please? All right, so okay, so we say that we integrate a national network of a food bank, and we're the largest food bank network in Latin America. So we have in Brazil 93 food banks distributed in all of the states of Brazil, and our concept is a simple concept to collect the food that is left over and take it to where it's missing. So we talk so much about this, these numbers that don't work. We have so much, a country with so much food, but but so many people go hungry. So how can we reduce and make make people live with dignity, so we can and to bring people food, quality food that is appropriate for human consumption. So we have built this work through partnerships. So we didn't buy any food. All the food that gets to us comes through a partnership. And these partners are people that are responsible. There are companies and natural people, persons that can come and contribute with this project. So we have been in Rio de Janeiro for more than 20 years. And today we have about 120,000 people and 850 institutions that are registered in the program. We have more than 3,000 tons of distributed food during the pandemic. We saw that we needed to move a greater amount of food because the people were really looking for it. So people that weren't within our profile of care started to talk to us asking for collaboration. In this case, Mesa no Campo, which is the project that Bia mentioned in the beginning, made a big difference. We developed a technology, a social technology, because we created a basket of fruits and vegetables that was something new. We were a bit concerned about how this would be received by these people, because we know that not always people have access to fruits and veggies, so it's easier to donate food that is non-perishable. So when we started with this donation, we were able to see how people felt honored. So there are people that called us and they said it made a difference. They're receiving, I'm getting fruits and vegetables, I'm getting cauliflower, chicory, and everything coming from the field. And in such an important moment when people didn't really have that element on their tables. So this is the ideal plate of food, right? So how does it work? So as I said, we get in touch with partners and we bring the food that is left over to people that don't have that food, but always focused on an aid institution. We don't donate to people directly, but through an institution that is registered with us. So we visit the institution, we try to see the profile, what is the audience that is being cared for, and this donation is always done according to that profile through a team, a multidisciplinary team between social workers and nutritionists. So who can donate to us are industries, food industries, distribution hubs, supermarkets, natural persons, and what can be donated? Fruits and veggies, also any supply, food supply, and we ask that it's given to us 5 days before expiry date. So I need time for this food to be distributed, and consume. So we always have this rationale of thinking in the institution that is receiving it, what is the amount that it will receive, so we can be sure that it will consume that food within that expiry date. So this is something that is done daily. So we have a lot of concern with that, a big responsibility to be able to close that cycle. We're not concerned only with donation, but how it will be consumed, how it will be stored. So we have constant communication actions with these institutions, with the cooks, not only to teach how to make better use of food, but also that they can understand that if I didn't throw away that food, as I didn't throw away the food, they shouldn't throw it away either. So we need to make the most of that food, and we need training. So, and also anyone can be a donor, right? So I can donate a service, a space. So partnership is infinite. So I can't say, oh, but maybe I don't have food to donate, but I can donate a space so we can work, or I can donate fuel for our vehicles, or I can donate a word or a website. So everything, any donation is welcome. And what cannot be donated? What do we not receive? Products without a label, without identification, without an expiry date, products that are expired, fruits and veggies with signs of mold, and other supermarket items that are damaged, like salt and sugar, where we don't know if that food was exposed to some sort of situation that may impact the health of that person that is receiving that food. Food with rusty packages that are bloated, so the different cigarettes or alcoholic food. So these are things that we don't receive. So it's important to know that besides behind each one of these products, there is someone that is receiving it. So we need to be very careful in the way we deliver that food, that donation. We need to show to that person that they can have a worthy food, quality food. And many times within their institution, they have foods that would be able to transform that food in a food that would be quality food. But it doesn't know about this. They don't know how they're going to elaborate that menu. So we already talked about how you can be a partner, and here we have voluntary work. So since the program was created, it was created on a very important tripod to fight hunger, waste, and voluntary work. So it's very important that society can participate of our project, to have ideas, to talk to us, to talk about an assessment that was done. So since the project was created, we received the participation of society through voluntary work. So it goes to our unit, that goes to Madureira. They help us to select the food, to separate them, the food that will be donated to the institution that is there on that day. And it has a very important participation. Besides that, we have a solidarity troupe that are people that they dress up as clowns and they visit the institutions and they do excellent work. Well, so I talked briefly about the program, and now, Bia, I'm going to show you a video about the Mesa no Campo program, and I wanted to explain to you how this project works. It happened in the following manner. So we had a lot of work with farmers from Nova Friburgo, and they always said that many times they would run their tractor over the food that was not apt for trade. So so basically they would throw away the food that didn't have the right quality. So we don't go to the market and buy a cabbage that is too big. So we want it to be the right size. So we created this project, Mesa no Campo, or a table in the farm. And it's very sad because many times people will go hungry and we have them throwing away all this food that could be on the tables of those that need it. So let's show the video. So Brazil is a beautiful, blessed land, which is the fourth largest producer of food on the planet. But do you know that 39,000 tons of foods are wasted every day? So this could feed 19 million people. So with three basic meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So the Mesa Brazil program, it collects food for more than 200 partner companies, and we provide this to more than 2,000 institutions, and we minimize waste, and we also help young people and old people. So I was really curious to get to know your property because they say a lot of good things about you. Yeah, this was one of the first farmers that started to join our project. That's great. So what happened with the surplus of your production before Mesa Brazil? Well, unfortunately, we would just run the tractor over it. So you would just run over the good food with the tractor? Yes, if there was anything wrong with it, we couldn't sell it. People don't want to buy it. So how did Mesa Brazil get to Friburgo? Well, this is an old dream from Mesa Brazil to collect the surplus foods from production. So they plant it, but they're not going to harvest it. And this food is adequate for consumption, and it's great when the institutions receive it. All right, so Mr. Percival, so what do you have for us today? I came here to collect food. So what do we have today? Oh, we have some cabbage. All right, so are we going to harvest it now? Great, let me help you. So let's see, we have some cauliflower. This one looks pretty good. So this one here, we can't sell it because it has a small little defect here. But it can be used by Mesa Brazil. So I'm just going to cut this off. I'm going to cut off this little part, and it's great. So it's apt for eating. So you can donate it, but you can't sell it. Exactly. Ready. Now we finished the harvest, and I want to invite you to something. Let's get to know who this donation is going to. Hello. Nice to meet you. It's great to meet you. Yeah, so can you see all this? So I helped to harvest this. Really? I believe it. And it's all delicious, all these fruits and veggies. These vegetables actually came from Mr. Percival's farm. Thank you very much. It's very important to feed our children. This helps us to enrich their lunch. So please continue to help us. And certainly before these donations, you would spend more money to feed these children. So what can you do now with the money you're able to save? After this project, it really helped us to improve our efforts because we're able to enrich the food of our students. And it's great to get this food straight from the farm for our children. This is very important to us. You're able to save? Yes, before we couldn't buy cleaning materials, but now with these donations, we're able to invest in cleaning materials and other foods as well. And also we can invest in a snack for the children in the afternoon. So I'm remembering that before the tractor would just go over all of this food, and now all this food are going to help these children. So how do you feel? Today I feel happy because I can see that what we would throw away before now is being used to benefit children that need it. So I feel very happy. So many children, they only have that as their last meal. They go home. So they go home after eating at school, and this makes a huge difference in the lives of these children. It's a pleasure. So yeah, you can come to get to know our school, and you can see how the food that you produce in your farm goes straight into these children's plates. So in the next episode of this series, we're going to get to know the training process and how they're able to transform beets in rice and beans. So discuss this with your families and friends and your school and university, and let's see what are the attitudes that we can change to make a difference. So let's together fight food waste in Brazil. So now I'm going to share with you this amazing recipe of cauliflower pudding. So how is it to participate in Mesa Brasil? It's really enriching. It's a moment that challenges us. We have new recipes, and this really helps us to have healthy food. And you have to be very creative because I have already seen a lot of things in the kitchen, but cauliflower mousse or cauliflower dessert, I never saw anything like that. Yes, it's very tasty and very easy to do. Children can do it. The recipe is very simple. So first, we place the cauliflower.
Uma parceria Sesc-RJ.
So a SESC partnership. So that was it. So it's an important part of our work. So I was going to say that it's a small part, but no, it's a big part of our work. We have other projects as well. So we have the gastronomic network, small gourmet, but mesa no campo, or table on the farm, is very important because we were created on two very strong pillars, which was to fight hunger and waste. And Mesa no Campo is here to act on this issue of loss, or that food that is not harvested that would stay out on the farm and that is not being, we don't account for it in waste. So we account for waste after we harvest the food, and then when it goes to a supermarket, but in this case it never left the property. So we're talking about only one association, which is our partner, which is ProSol, in a universe of several associations. So that's what I had to say, Bia. Thank you very much for the opportunity of showing our work. Congratulations, Cida. Every time I see this, I feel very happy. And I'm very happy it's Bruno Nunes, that I've been following Bruno for many years, and he has this sensitivity that he always has that sensitivity of identifying programs that have this alignment with the initiatives that are being promoted in the ministry. So as I said, this panel here has a regional focus. So we have a national guest and a global guest to identify in what way Mesa can occupy all these places. So Bruno, how do you see this synergy between the Ministry of Science and Technology and this project. Welcome. All right. Thank you, Bia. It's a pleasure to meet you, Sida. Pleasure to meet this project. For us, the issue of waste is something that food waste is one of the main causes that mobilized some of our projects. And food security, nutritional security, is one of the pillars that we have within the bioeconomy agenda in the ministry. I'm going to speak very briefly about bioeconomy. I'm going to focus on some projects where there are potentials that we work to ensure nutritional food security, and also avoiding losses and seeing possible synergies with initiatives like yours. And it would be very gratifying to see OECD's view on that, how we can fit with them in global efforts for this purpose. So we talked briefly about how we promote how the ministry has developed actions to promote a bioeconomy that can be circular and sustainable. So it's worth it to talk briefly about what is the ministry and what do we exist for. So the minister says that we are the toolbox of the government. So this means that it's up to us to develop technologies and the knowledge that will be the base of the public policies. So we don't produce anything. We produce knowledge so that from that society can generate its wealth. And so when we talk about wealth, we're not talking only about money, but opportunities. We want to generate knowledge so we can induce the generation of knowledge that will induce the generation of this wealth and this opportunities for Brazil, thinking about the quality of life of Brazilians. That is our mission. So going over this briefly, we have here the National Strategy for Science and Technology. So we see these are 12 strategic topics. We have water, food, energy, we have climate, and also biodiversity and bioeconomy. So these are all topics that are totally related to what we're doing here with the social aspect as well. There's social technologies, like you mentioned. And for each one of these strategic topics, we develop our planning. So in this case here, this planning was launched in 2018, which defines bioeconomy in the sense of thinking about the transition of what is which is finite and fossil, and what is sustainable. So we need to promote health, development, sustainable growth, and welfare of society. But we went a step beyond that, and we developed a conceptual field of Brazilian bioeconomy, because differently than many countries, Brazil is basically a group, has a lot of unique challenges. So very few countries have such a biodiverse economy as Brazil has. So very few countries have a strong agriculture. They also have strong biodiversity. They also have a strong social biodiversity, which is something that is almost exclusive. There are very few countries that can be proud of having this term of social biodiversity, which is actually something that was created by Brazilians, this relation between the biologic and human diversity. And besides that, we have a scientific capacity. So our most significant capacities are in technological sciences, agribusiness sciences, and health sciences. So we have a group of factors that make Brazil have a natural aptitude for bioeconomy. So we say that these are this is maybe the last major opportunity that we have. So we really need to make the most of it. And it's important to mention all that because this project that we have here on this screen that originated this conceptual field, this was built in forums of debate with civil society, with government agencies, and the academic sector. So it's a forum of debate for us to think about bioeconomy. And there we got to the conclusion of the foundations that the Brazilian economy needs to have. And one of them is integrated, or the integrated guarantee of the hydric energy. So this is what the FAO always talks about, these links. So we have to prioritize systems that when we solve a problem like biofuel, for example, they can't challenge for us to ensure energy security. We can't risk food security, for example. So all our efforts is to ensure sustainability and the circularity of all of that as well. Because today we still have a linear model when we talk about waste or garbage. So we think in a way that we need to think in a way that everything is integrated. So what we see as waste today is a co-product of a new product and needs to fit into all of that. So this is something that needs to be done from the beginning. When you start to think about a product, you need to think about how it's going to be reinserted. We have redesigns of productive chains as a whole. So this is something that we have worked on in our projects, and our projects have to reflect that. So this is a general view of how this plan that we created, it focuses on biomass technologies and production and technologies to process this biomass, and finally technologies that will take that biomass that is processed and will develop new bioproducts and will develop alternative uses, as we have discussed before. For biofuels is so important for Brazil that it has a dedicated plan. This is something we always mention because for Brazil this is a great opportunity, these biofuels, and we need to learn how to deal with that regarding how we are questioned abroad. So we're always questioned if our biofuels are secure food-wise, and we believe they are because there are some plants that I can mention afterwards that they're being studied in Brazil. For example, macaúba. We had the example of macaúba yesterday, and it still wasn't explored in its full potential, and it can provide food and biofuel, advanced biofuels, like bio jet fuel. So I want to emphasize a little bit this. What are we doing for our bioeconomy? What are our efforts? So as I said, one of the first actions that we did as we instituted the coordination was to work on the nexus concept. So we did a public hearing. We selected 5 projects and 5 biomes. The only one that wasn't included was the Amazon region due to the size. We would need a single public hearing for that. And the idea, or a public call rather, and the idea is to find sustainable solutions in an integrated manner. So we have great solutions that were given regarding the development of gardens for solar energy and also social cultural routes, including bio safety. We have the Buchia root, which is a plant that is from the south of Brazil, and it has a culture, a food culture around it, and traditions in developing that plant. So this root, it recovers that root too, and it brings basically gastronomy, fairs. So this group of research, they were able to resume that culturally, these cultural roots. So this is one of the possible solutions. But we also have a project called Ecolumi, which is in Pernambuco, in the countryside, where we develop the generation of food, hydroponic foods, through solar energy. So we generate exceeding energy for the schools. So these gardens are installed in agricultural schools or farming schools or family schools, like they call it. And besides that, this moves this whole part of energy movement for the hydroponic system. And the hydroponic system also has a company system where you also have the presence of the production of fish. The surplus is used to feed chickens, so you have the production of protein and vegetables from that. And also we have different products that have more added values. So basically, if you talk about hydroponic in the north, which is quite dry, it's a bit controversial, but when you're able to have more water efficiency and more renewable energy, you're able to have this hydroponic cultures as well. So this is examples like this is what we do in Nexus, and it will become a program. We're going to reformulate this with and a different name, but the idea is to have integrated systems for production. So we have here always thinking about the forests and ensuring biosafety or biosecurity. Now we also have this platform that is Plage Sun, which is for food security and knowledge management. So the idea is to have a repository for our many research groups that we have in Brazil. We have a huge amount of research in Brazil regarding food security. So we want to group this community within this platform to have a repository of their knowledge, of their research. And we want to georeference and map out where each one of them are and allow greater contact or greater synergy between the institutions, between these research groups, and to promote debate. So these communities, these groups would have pages within their own forums, discussion forums, where they could discuss common topics. And from there, we can get a synergy and better work. And also, it's a government platform. So the idea from the ministry is to have this data and generate indicators from that, from these experiences, from the public databases about this topic, so that we can, help the decision making of the government. So the ministry needs to know where we should foster more, where are the bottlenecks, and the other ministries as well, like the agricultural ministry or the regional development ministry. Another thing that is really important that has a huge synergy with what you said are the productive chains of bioeconomy. Here we use science and technology to solve bottlenecks in structured chains, or the chains that are being structured. So let's say there is a bottleneck that we detect that is related to waste, which is the acai berry chain. So more than 50% of what is harvested till it gets to the consumer, it's wasted, and a large part of that is wasted on the farm, because when they harvest it, it falls on the floor, and it goes to waste. And the transportation is a problem because the distances are huge in the Amazon region. So till they collect it by boat, it goes bad. So we saw there was a huge waste throughout that chain. So our solution was to see how can we fix that food when it's harvested. So as soon as it's harvested, we need to store it in a way that they consider the Amazonian particularities or specificities, which is lack of energy. We have a huge problem with energy there, and also we need to consider the fact that it needs to be a robust system and simple. So the ministry has been financing some equipment to dry food, but we not through the classic method. They dry this through heat. So they usually use heat to dry it, and it's based on solar energy. So that's what's most interesting. So it's a food dryer. So we have two types that we're developing. In this case, for the pulp, we are having a food dryer that you basically remove the pulp. And this is something that we're using for cupuaçu as well. We're using the same technique for cupuaçu. So you get that pulp and you insert it within a machine, and then it has a film, and this film goes through this tunnel. Then they have hot water on top, hot air on top, and hot water underneath, and this dehydrates the acai berry, and then it's crushed. So you get the powder, the acai powder, at the end of that process. So part of the electric energy comes from solar energy, and the heat is generated by the process of burning the seed of the acai. So the acai seeds are a problem because they have become contaminants because of the huge amount. So we're using that to generate the system within the system. So this is what we talk about when we talk about circularity. So we're able to increase the shelf life of the product, and then we reduce the the water use, and you don't have so you're able to store this without a cold chain, which is a problem there. So you can store it in a warehouse. All right, these small packages of acai that are generated, like coffee packages. So you're able to So this is just an example of what we're doing. Another example that you mentioned is liquidity. So we talking to the researchers that brought us an interesting result with liquidity, that only 5% of liquidity produced in the field, which is extractivism, is able to be used by us due to a lack of processing power. And this liquidity, which is a regional plant, it has a lot of potential. So the GDF, for the government uses this liquidity in the school snacks, and it comes from Bahia, but only 5% is able to be used. The rest rots, or is used for feeding the cattle or the animals. So there is huge potential that we can make better use of the Brazilian wealth, and we can generate more work, opportunity, income, and equality as well, which is something very important. So we always work with circular economy, bioeconomy, bioenergy, solutions based in nature. So the next steps that we see is a matter of working with the biorefineries. How do we process all of that? So for future foods as well, our organic foods and alternative proteins, and a whole part of renewable chemicals. So here we have this idea of this project is to encompass all of Brazil. Today we work in the Amazon and the Caatinga region, but we're going to have a public call for all of Brazil soon. And here we have very well defined what are the eligibility criteria. So what is really the project and how it's selected. And here we have the pilot projects that we have already worked on. So we have the Açaí Cupuaçu, Licuri. We also have an important part with Pirarucu. I could explain this better, but I think our time is running out. So I want to thank the opportunity for getting to know Mesa Brasil. Well, thank you. That's what I wanted here, to establish this engagement. Then maybe we can have a wedding in the future, and invite me to the wedding if it happens. So thank you, Bruno. I knew you would know how to identify the jewel that is Mesa Brasil. So I'm very happy, and I hope that we can still work together. So now, I don't know if he's there waiting patiently. José Enrique Garcilaso.
Zé Henrique is such a nice guy, é uma pessoa tão bacana que vocês estão vendo aí. I hope you had a good overview of what is Mesa Brasil, Mesa no Campo, and how important is the bioeconomy project in Brazil. And we have the honor to having here Bruno Nunes, and I couldn't be better accompanied here with Cida. Pass it to somebody here, but it's important too. Anyway, Bruno, please, how do you see everything you have heard so far, joining the project that you are the head? Ele é o líder de projeto muito importante.
So he's a leader of a very important project in OECD. So if anyone needs a translation, you can get the translation device, because José Enrique is going to speak in English.
Pleasure to have you here. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Bea. The first thing is, can you listen to me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'm very jealous I cannot be there with you. I see you with
You
short sleeves
should
and
be
all
jealous.
the
It's a
speakers,
beautiful
and I'm
day.
here at 0 degrees in the Christmas period in Paris. But I was listening with a lot of interest the initiative. I wanted to talk about a couple of things today. Some present to you some important work that we are undertaking in the OECD. I think just to give you an overview of how rural development has been evolving throughout the years, how we understand the role of rural development and its role that it can play on the climate change agenda. And we just have launched a new initiative. It's called the Rural Agenda for Climate Action. that was presented in COP26, and I had the chance to go to COP26. We had 2 sessions, one in the Blue Zone and another side event, and I think it was very much supported. So I wanted to talk about this, what it is, and a little bit the role of how rural development policies can play and should play on a lot of these initiatives. And actually, some of the examples that you have already showed are actually moving into this direction. So from our point of view, what we would like is to help you, to share, to also to push our governments to move, to accelerate the transition. I think we are at a very important time. First of all, the OECD, it's an organization that's based in Paris. For those of you that don't know it, it's the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. It has 38 member countries that come together, and we basically advise governments on what to do. The OECD is based, all the action happens in committees. We don't have money like the IMF or the World Bank. We need to be very good with our advice to governments to convince them to actually move into the direction that we want. So the committee that we're working, it's called the Regional Development Policy Committee. And this committee has 3 working parties. One is the Working Party on Rural Policy, and that's the one that I'm working on. So the work on rural development has been evolving throughout the years, and I think it's very, very important to understand what we understand in terms of rural development. It started off by recognizing that not everything on the rural is agriculture, and not all the rural places are lagging behind. We find many places that are very much advanced on terms of rural development, and then we have about 30% of the OECD population live in rural areas, and only about 2% of employment happens in agriculture. So we do have a 28% in non-agricultural activities. And I think it's very, very important to push the rural development agenda towards the climate change. I think it has to play a very important role. So throughout the years, basically, we worked on this agenda, and we've created a new framework. It's called the rural well-being. And this framework actually focuses on people. It's a big change because traditional rural development policies actually focus on sectors, agriculture, forestry, fishing. And we're trying to say it's the person that's really important. Are we improving people's lives, yes or no? And when we think about this framework in terms of a people's-based approach to rural development, it has the economic dimension, the social dimension, and the environmental dimension. So what has happened is we've been working very hard on the economic and the social, and our committee has prioritized the work on the environment. I think this is an area that we're trying to push all our efforts with our approach, and I think that's something that's quite interesting. Now, what we have seen is that going to COP26, what usually happens is you have these ministers, heads of state, they show up to the COP26, they sign these very visible agreements, and then they disappear for the next COP26 meeting. And we have also observed that there's many initiatives that have been happening in the cities. Cities have been moving very aggressively in the last years with all kinds of policies to make it more sustainable, more energy efficient. And on the rural side, it has been a bit left behind. And actually, we have heard that many rural places are seeing the new villains of climate change. And in fact, when we look at the data, if we look at the CO2 emissions per capita, we find that in rural places, they're about 26.3 tons, compared to the ones in the metro, which is 9.3 tons. So 3 times higher in terms of per person tons of CO2 per capita. When we look at the total global house emissions, we find that in rural places, remote regions, they produce about 17% of the total global house emissions. And they only represent about 8% of the population. So you do have a lot of polluting and intensive on the rural side. And our idea is that if we look a little bit ahead, we find that climate change is a tremendous opportunity for many of these rural places. It's not that we should try to force, but we should try to understand about what these opportunities are. And more importantly, when we talk about opportunities, I'm not referring to big firms or government. It's really about how can we generate some of these benefits back to the rural communities. I think it's very important that when we think about business models and policies, we should always think about how can we benefit back to some of the rural communities. So I was very pleased to see some of the examples that you showed me before in your slides. And on the other hand, we find that agricultural policies have been moving very, very quickly in terms of the climate change, but they're very, very much defined. They focus on very specific sectors and we have identified a number of very strategic areas that we would like to make progress. So in COP26, we had the first meeting with our partners from Scandinavia, from Nordregio, and we brought to the table a U.S. Secretary of USDA. We had also the Permanent Secretary of Finland. We also had a Director General from Sweden and a Secretary from Scotland. And actually, they endorsed this agenda. So it was actually approved and endorsed. And this agenda focuses on 6 basic action items. The first one is we need better information and data at the rural level. We don't have any idea of how good or bad rural regions are doing in the transition to a low carbon economy against, for example, cities or different types of rural areas. So we need much, much better data. I think it's very important to measure and monitor and see how progress can be attained. So there was a big push towards getting better information. The second area is around building local capacity. I think, if we think about moving this transition, you need to do it from the bottom up. You cannot just from national governments, decide how the rules should be taken without really understanding that development is really a bottom-up process. So we need to work with capacity. We need to make sure that people and businesses understand the big opportunities that are out there in terms of the climate change. The third area that we heard about before, it's a bit about fostering renewable energy. And now renewable energy can represent tremendous opportunities in terms of new revenue sources to a lot of the places, new jobs and business opportunities. They can also bring a lot of innovations to local communities, and they can also help build capacity to a lot of these local stakeholders. And in many remote places, the future of renewable energy is tremendous in terms of being self-isolated, and you can actually produce your own energy. So we're seeing now that, for example, the Germans are moving to generating a lot of very exciting technologies around hydrofuels, and that permits basically to convert a lot of these renewable energy into storage units, and potentially that can also be shipped. So before it was the problem of intermittencies for renewable energies, and I think that technology is coming around the corner where a lot of these renewable energies can actually be stored and shipped, and that's going to be a tremendous change. The fourth item that we saw that's very, very important is around the bioeconomy and the circular economy. And here there's tremendous opportunities to do new business models, to think about how to recycle, how to reuse a lot of the goods and services that are actually produced. We saw fantastic examples on your end how to do that. And in COP26, we had a very interesting presentation. If you don't know about it, it's called the Green Lab in Denmark. That is actually a small cluster that is focusing on 5 or 6 state-of-the-art technologies. But more than that, they have developed a business model so that a lot of the benefits that they're generating actually goes back to the local communities. Like I mentioned before, it's very important that when we think about doing this transition towards low carbon, we're actually also thinking about bringing some of these benefits back to the people. The fifth item is the ecosystem services. So this is a very exciting area in Europe where there's a lot of carbon capturing back. Actually, there's a lot of big firms buying farmland and setting up new technologies to set up carbon capture technologies. So I think it's very, very important that we think about the value of ecosystem services that they can bring into the future. And then the final and sixth action item is around decarbonizing transport in some of these rural places. I think this is something that we need to think about, how to bring different forms of mobility. It's much easier in the cities when you have density, but in the rural, there's actually some very exciting technologies that are available to do that. And the final point that we see, there's a lot of discussion about doing what we call a just transition. That is when we move away from carbon intensive to carbon neutral production methods. There's also an idea to do it in a just way. How can you work with people that have had traditional jobs that might not be competitive anymore? How do you can work with reskilling them, providing opportunities, training, working on the diversification of places that are carbon intensive in the past. So I think the topics of the just transition are very exciting. So I just wanted to highlight a little bit of the broad areas that we are working within the OECD. We're very much interested on the outcomes of your discussion of this platform, and we can also happily share them to our members. I think it's an effort that all the international institutions need to work closer together. Everybody knows that it's very important to get to transition towards the climate. But I think the notion of we need to do it very, very quick. We need to accelerate it. We need to press on all the buttons to make sure that we don't get above that 1.5 temperature rise. So I think I'll conclude it with that, Bea, just to give you a bit of a flavor of the work that we're doing in relation with rural development and climate change.
Thank you very much, Zé Henrique. It was a pleasure and see so many synergies with everything that Cida has spoken, everything that Bruno has spoken. I really hope that the next Green Rio will be here with us in a beautiful place, Marina da Glória, and sharing the table with Cida and Bruno, because I don't know if you had seen yesterday, we had a meeting, a German-Brazilian bioeconomy workshop, and Dr. Eva Miller, who is running the German part, she said that we talk about collaboration. And then just after that, Mr. Marcelo Camargo is here. Come here, Marcelo. He must see you. Who is you? Who is Marcelo Camargo? I'm talking about Marcelo Camargo. He doesn't. We are very informal today. Today is Saturday. Everybody is more dressed, more relaxed, and so on. Please take the. Boy, I'm not Flamengo. We have a problem on that. But anyway, he is a Flamengo. Flamengo is a soccer game, most popular in the world, as he said. So I'm just inviting Marcelo to join this because Mesa Brasil, Mesa no Campo, must be a public policy. And I think that we need you and you to help. I'm launching this if Fernando absolves me to do this. Marcelo, please, the floor is yours. Do you mind if I ask you to? Because it's a good synergy, Marcelo, Bruno, Cida, and OECD.
Have a good morning to everybody and to all my colleagues. It's a great pleasure to stay.
Fernando, could you join us?
Beatriz is actually, I was talking with Fernando.
Fernando's going to sit near you now.
Yes, from SESC, right? And then I think that this kind of event must be a beginning of new programs. I think that we cannot finish this kind of event without trying to establish and do some initial agreements to new programs. And it's very, very important, as FINEP is doing nowadays, a lot of partnerships, especially with the foundations, with scientific foundation from the States, Beatriz. Nowadays, FINEP has, with these foundations, a great program called Centelha, and also a great program called Tecnova. The program called Centelha is also the opportunity to the innovative guys, the entrepreneurship, And then if you have a great idea about innovation, and you don't have the enterprise established, for instance, you can send this idea to be analyzed by these foundations and FINEP together. And then this idea will pass during 6 months to 3 different phases. During these 3 different phases, the idea will be analyzing deeply, carefully, until, and then we have in the first, in Centelha 1, in the first movement of the Centelha, we had around 16,000 ideas submitted. And then Centelha 2 is in course, and then we have Centelha 2, we are beginning launch the new calls to Centelha 2 in the States. And then I think that this opportunity to talk to everybody that is listening us, that if you have a good idea about innovation, and then you'd like to be an entrepreneur, and then you'd like to be an enterprise, for instance, at the end of the phase, at the 3rd phase, you must be open an enterprise. You must be open a company, for instance, to receive the money of the subvention, because our legislation obliged us just to put money of subvention in an enterprise, an established enterprise. And then Centelha is nowadays is a great movement changing the culture of this country, I think that, because it's giving the possibilities to everybody, even that you don't have an enterprise, if you don't know how to be an enterprise, but during these 3 different phases, then 6 months, you have the possibility to have mentors, you have trainings, you have a lot of help to, at the end, it's possible to open your enterprise. And then also, I think that we can, after then, you have the Tecnova. Tecnova is the ticket of the project is higher than Centelha. Centelha is around nowadays 100,000 reais. Centelha, you have the possibility to have 500,000 reais in terms of the innovation project. And then I think that, why I'm talking about this? Because I think that we must try to think about new possibilities and new partnerships with these other institutions, for instance, SESC, for instance. I will talk with Fernando, then I think the possibility to Fernando talk something about how we can join, how we can stay together, FINEP, as you told me that, okay, FINEP must be always in this kind of movement with the other partners, and then I think that we, and also with also colleagues from the foreign countries, as I told you yesterday about, we must do other programs with Germany, try to go to talk with Sweden, and also this. I think that we must be connected always. And especially, I think that we must have a very good program, as we were talking about this, giving the possibility to initiate a company, but also to internationalize, sorry, these companies too. Then because nowadays, if you are not linked with the international market, for instance, you are out of the game. And then I think that Apex must stay with us, and also with the partners. Yes, yes. And then how can, okay, if you have, okay, we got subvention, right? But after this, okay, we must try to be focused on the international boundaries, international markets. And then I received, it was very important because I received it from a study from São Carlos, from Fernando de Oliveira, teacher Fernando de Oliveira. And this is a study. He showed us that 3 main points are very, very important about the success of the enterprises. They studied around 1,000 companies and the causes of failure or not about these companies. And these 3 main points is, first of all, to initiate, the company must have the DNA, the DNA innovation in their blood at the beginning. And this is not so simple because, for instance, how to understand the managed innovation that you must have. Managed innovation must be something very normal to the companies. Because you must, okay, I have a plan, you have a budget, you have a business plan, but you have also nowadays have an innovation plan. You must have an innovation plan, even that you are a micro company, for instance. The second point that is very important is that, okay, you must be linked to international markets and global markets at the beginning. Because on the other hand, for instance, if you give money to the subvention after this, a very, very big company will buy you. And then all kind of efforts that the Brazilian government does, for instance, unfortunately, we will finish. I know that this is a rule of the game, but we must try to postpone this kind of movement, right? You must give the subvention, and then you must try to this company grow at the time. Yes, with more muscle with this, right? After, and then if it's possible to sell, it's okay, but not at the beginning that we are looking nowadays. And the third point of the study told us about the structure, the financial structure of the company. The companies must be very, very, how can I say, they must try to understand very well about that not with her own capital, sorry, but with the third capital too, the capital too, try to get financing, how to get financing, how to get these lines of financing that FINEP, BNDES, Banco do Brasil, and others can support this movement. Then these 3 points is very important, and then we're talking here. And that is a very, very good opportunity to try to establish, at the end, I will finish, new programs with this kind of new partnerships that FINEP is not linked nowadays. SESC will be a very, very good opportunity to ourselves. My director is here. I think that he is walking around. Unfortunately, Marcelo Bortolini. I don't know if Marcelo Bortolini is, if he is listening to me, if it's possible to appear here. Marcelo Bortolini, is possible to appear? I don't know. Okay, I don't know, probably. Oh, Marcelo Bortolini is coming. Yes, yes, Marcelo Bortolini is coming. I think that is a very good opportunity. My director, yes, he's coming. And then also, if possible, I think that he always forced us to try to think about new programs and how to launch these programs, and then give the opportunity to other possibilities. Marcelo, I think that, please. A gente está falando aqui sobre a possibilidade de novos programas com novos parceiros, o pessoal da OCDE, e eu falei
não sei se já chegou o pessoal do meu.
Well, I don't know if the 12:30 people are here. So I just wanted to confirm, Marisa, if our OECD friend is still online.
No. Yes, we have a new guest. We have 2 new guests, 3 new guests. You are overcrowded of wonderful guests. We have Fernando from SESC. The fantastic project of Mesa Brasil is linked to CIDA, who you saw. Now there is Fernando. I don't know if you can show Fernando. Who is the cameraman? Fernando. There, Fernando. Yeah, there you see. And then there is Marcelo Bortolini, who is coming. I'm just introducing you. You see, Marcelo is director of FINEP. Marcelo, 2 Marcelo, you have 2 Marcelos. Both are very good. And Marcelo Bortolini, I'm going to ask you, and Fernando too, to talk very quickly, because we have another panel after, but I could not miss. This panel is becoming fantastic. It will be in the memory of all Green Hills. Bortolini, the floor is yours. Pleasure to see you here.
It's a pleasure to me. Thank you, Beatriz. Thank you, Bruno, Marcelo, José Henrique, Fernando, and all that are here. It's a pleasure to FINEP to take part in Green Rio. We have a long time partnership and very important this. I'm glad that we can discuss every time new projects. Recently, we closed a call in partnership with German partners, and I think that it's a very good idea, work CDA. So we are open to discuss. We are open to work together to support innovation in Brazil. It's all, Beatriz. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Zé Henrique, you are in charge now to organize a panel at OECD with these people who are here. It's a challenge that I propose to you. Please don't be mad with me for proposing this challenge in public. But I'm quite sure that it will be a fantastic panel if we could present there in OECD, FINEP, Ministry of Science and Technology, SESC and Mesa Brasil, to show how we work together to promote innovation and research and social inclusion and environmental. I just want to finish this with the word of Fernando, please.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you, Bia. I believe I need to be fast. Yeah. So just, I'm honored to be here. Talking about SESC, we have 120 projects, social projects. It's a great portfolio, project portfolio. So we understand we need partnership. We're committed to UN SDGs 2030, and we believe we have to build partnerships to make these projects stronger and continuous. We believe in continuous project. And we have projects happening in communities, the Brazilian favelas, in farms, in great cities, in small cities. So, but we have to build a relationship with educational institutes, governmental institutes, many partnerships, getting together, giving hands, making this project stronger to promote a real impact to our society, in special our hunger society, in special our poor society. So, it's it. I need to be fast. Thank you for all. Thank you, everyone. Let's work together. We need to make this real, not just a talk, and it's a reality. Projects happening. Thank you one more time. Bye. Good afternoon.
Thank you, everybody. I hope when we finish this panel, we can have like a luncheon with this beautiful view. And when you talk about Centelha, just to finish, I like it very much. We are finishing, but there is a lady over there in the blue suit, and I think she'll be interested in talk about Centelha with you. Yes, Josefina, you have a lot of people to talk. Thank you very, very much. Obrigada a cada de vocês. Zé Henrique, thank you for staying with us all the time. And you have new Brazilian friends here, can be sure of that. Thank you very much. Muito obrigada. Vamos em frente. Esse é o lema.
So let's go forward.
nossas energias, né, Maurício? Para que a gente consiga tornar realidade a Rio 2030. E dia 24, foi essa semana que na Marina da Glória, o governador Cláudio Castro lançou a Rio 2030. Então, eu tenho um vídeo, se possível, eu vou pedir para iniciar com um videozinho, e aí, em seguida, a gente apresenta e explica a Rio 2030, que é, né, ano que vem, os 30 anos da Rio 92. Então, se puder passar o videozinho.
The spirit of Rio must embody the full awareness of the fragility of our planet. The spirit of Rio must